What's up, y'all? It's Dev. Day number 162 of 10 cards rated. Let's see what the first one is, man. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Let's take a look at Fight the Blank Fight from Unfinity. We don't do uncards. Let's re-roll that. It's Vines of the Recluse. This is a real magic card. This is a single green mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+2, gains reach until end of turn. You can untap it. This is from Oath of the Gatewatch, which explains why it's kind of underwhelming. It's just kind of a combat trick. I didn't love Oath, to be honest. I'm sorry. There are some, we used to fight over this back in the day. There's some people that really like all the Gatewatch stuff. I didn't. Just throw that out there. But if I'm actually evaluating this card, I don't have much to say about it. Fine combat trick that you will play in basically no deck ever. 1.8, something like that. For second card is Sword of Sinew and Steel from Modern Horizons. This is about $10 to order right now. This is 3 mana for an equipment that equips for 2. The equipped creature gets +2/+2, has pro black and pro red, ladies and gentlemen, and whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target planeswalker and up to 1 target artifact. So not the most played sword, but probably gives you protection from the 2 colors that you want protection from the most, just in terms of removal and stuff like that. I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but I think there's also a black-white one. There's one that gives pro-black, pro-white. I want to say, yes, there is. And that one's crazy. But really, swords are more about, in a lot of cases, the abilities that they bestow. And in some cases, you're not really going to have a whole lot of targets for these abilities. You know, maybe you hit a couple of things. Maybe you do. But I think the real attraction... Wow, that was my drawer just under my knee. I'm fine. I don't know about the drawer. But either way... I think that the real draw for this one is the pro black and red, so long as you can actually get it equipped without it getting removed while the equipability is on the stack. So I got to give this one a pretty high score, right? This one's all right. 6.64 6.64 for Sword of Sinew and Steel. Swords are really good, and I think some people are going to be surprised I don't rate swords a little higher, honestly. But, you know, I think that 6.64 is actually a very good score. So that's my counter for today. Defiler of Faith is up next from Dominaria United. 5 mana, 3 and 2 white for a 5/5 Phyrexian human with vigilance. As an additional cost to cast white permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost white less to cast for each paid if you paid life this way. Sorry, that's hard to say. This effect reduces only the amount of white mana you pay. Whenever you cast a white permanent spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So basically, in a way, your white permanent spells are Phyrexian. They have Phyrexian mana in them. 1 Phyrexian mana symbol. You can pay 2 life rather than pay a white in a permanent spell, and that is basically ramp. It's effectively white ramp, you know? You can play this on, turn 5. And then turn 6, I guess you could play like the Eternal Wanderer or whatever. A 6 mana card without even having to play a land. You can pay a 7 mana card if you do get a land. So I've always kind of liked this guy, but I think there's just better 5-drops in general in white. And I'm talking about standard, but especially when you get to Commander, it's like, I just don't know about this dude at all. But, whenever you cast a white permanent, you get a soldier. So cast a creature, get another creature, cast any number of the, 10 enchantments that are in your deck. If you're mono white or whatever, you're playing a bunch of different enchantments. And you get a soldier for each of those. It prioritizes playing like pacifisms and other enchantment removal over like instant speed removal. So you get the soldiers. I think this is a really cool card that's a little bit underrated, but again, for the most part, you're paying this much for a card in any format. You might want it to be slightly better, but I do think this guy gets a bad rap. I'm going to give him a 5. I think that a 5 is, pretty much the highest I can go on this, but I think that it's where I want to go, because giving this guy a 4 would make me sad. I think he's actually really powerful in some ways, but we'll move on to Spark Mage. We have done Spark Mage before. This guy's cool. Next is Island, 5. Basic lands get a 5. I rate the art on a different scale, and they don't count for the video, so what do we give Young Park's art here? It's actually pretty good. I like the sort of Rapid Z, got a waterfall up here. Like, oh, that's pretty. I'll give it a 7.2. Next is Wild Size from Guild Pack down here. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample till end of turn, and you get to draw a card. So I like drawing cards. That's good, but the card is a little bit too expensive, honestly. 2. Just a solid 2. I like drawing cards. Hangar back Walker, baby. The Walker Texas Ranger right here. 2x for a 0/0 artifact creature. It ETBs with X +1/+1 counters on it. When it dies, put a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying onto the battlefield for each +1/+1 counter on Hangarback Walker. 1 tap, put a +1/+1 counter on Hangarback Walker. So it can get even larger after it enters the battlefield, but there's other ways of putting counters on it. And then if it ever dies, which oftentimes you have to make that happen yourself, but if it ever dies, it just springs into, 6 Thopters. This card was really, really playable back in Origin Standard. It was originally printed in Magic Origins, and it was kind of one of the most powerful cards in the set. There was a time this card was $20. It was so busted in Standard, and it's still a pretty playable commander card, I gotta believe, especially if you're going Oops All Colorless or something like that. There's a bunch of different, Urza's Battle Thopter, like Liberator, that's the name of it, or Graz, or I don't know, there's a million of these actually. Now that I think about it, there's a bunch of good like colorless commanders. Marvin, like there's a lot of good ones, but still. I think it's good in those decks, and it's good in tokens decks. It's decent in aristocrats decks where you're going to be sacrificing it anyway. It's good mana sink and all that. So Hangarback still doing work. You can play this in Pioneer, can't you? Can't you? It's not bad. It's I've always had a lot of affection for this card. If you go back to Origin Standard, I think that you'll see this card in, 20 deck techs on the channel in that 2-year period. So I love it. I can't stop believing that it's good. And I won't stop believing. Thank you, Steve Perry from Journey, for telling me not to stop believing, because I won't. This is like a 7. That's too high, isn't it? That's probably too high. This is a 6.9. Have that. It'll start with a 6. Chimeric coils. Chimeric coils? Chimeric coils. I like chimeric coils. It's like a chimera. It's like a chimera. Right? So chimeric coils. Cool. This is from 5th Dawn and only 5th Dawn. A single mana for an artifact. You can pay X and 1 to have coils become an XX artifact creature. Sack it at end of turn for some reason. I'm not really sure why. It already cost 1 extra mana than it really should to do the thing that it does. But I don't know. There's probably some fun stuff you could do with this. And I like the Michael Sutphin art here. This is a style you don't sort of see every day, but altogether the card is not great, but there's got to be some utility here. I like the Sonic rings. Those are cool. Let's give this a 2.9. I feel like there's some use for it out there. Etso Brash Novice from the Assassin's Creed set here. This is 1 and a red-white hybrid for a 1/1 legendary human. When Etso Brash Novice attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. As long as Etso has 2 or more counters of any kind on it, it has first strike and is an assassin in addition to its other types. So it's got to see some combat, right? It's got to be in a couple of combats before it actually becomes Etso, So this is Etso when he was just a boy, I guess, when he was just starting out being an assassin, quite the Lothario. He was more concerned with stuff like this than being an assassin, which is probably good because this is love. You say this is love, and then later he gets caught up in death and killing people, and that's not good. That's not good. So, maybe he's doing it for a good cause, but there are plenty of storylines in each of the Assassin's Creed games where it's like, is he doing it for a good cause? Is he being misled? So I think that probably the better thing to do would just be to keep doing this, right? Find a nice girl and settle down or whatever you want to, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to get involved in all this bloodshed. Either way, the card is not great. It's just okay. I will give this a 4.3. I think that there's some potential there, but it's a little bit normal. It's just kind of a normal Magic card. Rashar, baby, is a good card right here. Originally printed where? Ether Revolt. Yeah, that sounds about right. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 2/2 legendary elf druid. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Each creature you control with a counter on it has tap, add green to your mana pool. You hear that? You hear that? A ridiculous line of text right there? That last line of text is so amazing, dude. Everything that you have with a counter on it is a Lana War elf. Is a mana dork, basically. And that can let you do some like really broken things in your +1/+1 counter decks. And there's a lot of good +1/+1 counter decks. Basically goes in every single one of them. But you see it in elves decks every now and again too. You'll see it in decks where creatures have to have a bunch of different like power and toughness. You can like spread the counters on a card like this. But obviously things like hardened scales and whatnot are like, you know, where you'll see this most often. Rishkar's a really cool card, dude. I've got a lot of love for Rishkar. I've seen him played in elves. I've seen him played in +1/+1 counters. He's in the mono green cube right now. He was in a simplified cube that we made last year. It's just really cool guy, man. He kind of, again, I like cards that sit at the crossroads. And this one does, you know. He ramps. He cares about counters. He is elf. He just does kind of a lot of things for a lot of decks. I'm going to give Rishkar, I'm feeling very generous today, aren't I? Let's go 6.58 on Rishkar. I think this is just a really good Magic card. I really do, man. I'm not going to apologize. Wary Thespian is up next. I think this is a fine Magic card. Originally printed in March of the Machine, already reprinted in Foundations. 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 3/1 cat druid. When it ETBs or dies, surveil 1. So a cat, a 2 mana 3/1. Okay, so that's, you know, it's not bad. Blocks up and kills 3 drops sometimes. ETBs, trigger. Dies, triggers. I think this guy's cool. I don't think he's bad by any stretch, so I'll give him a 3.9. I'm a sucker for, you know, a double trigger, basically. And he's not like an embarrassing creature outside of his triggers. So, like, okay, you know, he's not an Elvish Visionary, you know, but he's really not that bad. He's just not. It really shows you how far we've come. I feel like in like 2011, you know, like this guy would be okay, but it's not 2011. So let's move on. Do the final card of the day, although I'm thinking we get a bonus one today because the last card is Skittering Surveyor from Dominaria. 3 mana for a 1/2 artifact creature construct. When it ETBs, you may search your library for a basic, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. This card actually saw extremely sparing play for a time in Dominaria Standard. It's in March of the Machine, and it doesn't see play now. But there was a time in Dominaria where I actually saw people sleeve this up on occasion as like a 1 or 2 of in very specific decks, and now I can't remember what decks they were. They must have been very artifact centric or something. But yeah, I've seen this card resolved, you know, but it's just okay value. Again, this is one of those where it's like, okay, it's 2002. It is a playable Magic card. It's not anymore, man. I have to give you a 3.6. No, actually, you know, 3.9. I'll give it the same score that I gave the Thespian back there, but I want to roll the dice one more time. Just one more time. A lot of Journey references in this video. Let's see what the last one is. Vexing Puzzle Box. This is neat. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, put a number of charge counters on Vexing Puzzle Box equal to the result. I wanted to roll the dice just one more time, didn't I? You can tap to add a mana of any color and then roll a d20. Also, tap, remove 100 charge counters from Puzzle Box to search your library for an artifact, throw it on the table, and then shuffle up. So that's kind of neat. It's a rock. This thing is like $3.50 right now at the lowest. There's a $10 version of it. There's a $4.50 version of it. This is the prettiest one, in my opinion, and it's the cheapest one. So I think that's a good buy. It's just a rock, right? 3 mana, taps for a mana of any color. That's a rock. But when you roll a d20, that means that you can put, you know, on average, right, 10 or so counters on it. I guess yeah, what would be the average? If you're rolling a d20, any result is likely, right? There's no result is more likely than another result. So what even is the average? You know what I mean? I guess if you're the mean, right? I don't know what the mean would be 10. I'm getting ahead of myself. Somebody mathy will tell me exactly, because I'm sure it's super obvious, and it is. The average is 10. But again, any result is possible every time, and you don't want to fall victim to gambler's fallacy. You know, I've rolled a 3 4 times in the last 5. I'm not going to roll a 3 again. Like, yeah, you might. So I don't know, over a million throws. What is the average? I stop. All right, so how long would it actually take you to get 100 charge counters? A long time, right? Like a really, really long time. Even if you're like proliferating and stuff, is it where you proliferate 40 times and just make it happen? I don't think so. So you're mostly getting counters on this by rolling. Maybe you can untap it and then keep rolling what? Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Come on. And then you hands up and hands down. Move in, now move out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up, back up. Tell me what you're going to do now. Keep rolling D20s. And this, I kind of broke there for a second. But yeah, I guess if you roll it 10 times on average, maybe you go get an artifact. I don't know. It's not that good, is it? It's really not. It's this. I don't think this card's worth $350. I don't think so. It's kind of Millennium Calendar-ish, isn't it? It's just a meme, really. But I don't know. You ever get to actually do it, you feel pretty good. If the game goes long enough, there's a chance. There's a chance, Sam. You might be able to do it. Anyway, guys, we did a bonus and everything today. Merry Wednesday to you. I love you guys. Bye.